To trade up or to trade back? That is the question we're going to be asking today. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for daily Texans content. Trying to get to 1,000. We're making great strides to get there. So appreciate everyone who's been following along for the ride. Let's get straight into this. Do we trade up or do we trade back? That is the question we're going to be talking about and we're going to be answering today. Now, to start, I kind of just want to talk about how do these prospects slide. I think it could be interesting to talk about this in the 2025 draft. Well, the first reason is going to be those crazy quarterback evaluations that seem to come around every year, or at least every other year, but really feels like every year. We know that when teams get pigeonholed on their quarterback, they really get pigeonholed and they want their guy. JJ McCarthy wasn't even a consensus first round pick until maybe a couple weeks before the NFL draft last year. And then before you know it, he's getting picked at 12 by the Vikings. So the same thing can happen for Dart and Sanders. Dart maybe more in that McCarthy range where he slides into the back end of the first round, and Sanders maybe the opposite where we thought he was going to be a second round overall pick, second overall pick, third overall pick, and then he starts sliding towards the end of the first round. The point I'm trying to make is if you're the Texans sitting at 25 and there's this quarterback chaos happening right around you, Dart coming up and Sanders coming down, maybe you trade back a little bit. Maybe you realize, hey, I can get a lot of assets and a lot of value with these picks if I just scoot back a little bit. That could be great. Or maybe the opposite happens. Maybe both quarterbacks go before 25 and now you're coming into these prospects getting slightly pushed down, and now you feel like you can make an aggressive move. That's really where the crazy quarterback evaluations kind of play into this strategy, right? Also, what if it's a defense heavy draft? I've said several times, I don't think the Texans need to be picking defense in the first or the second round. We can start having the conversation around the third round, but if there's a lot of defensive players going early, maybe you want to start reaching for a guy and moving up. And I don't mean reaching negatively, I mean reaching like moving up to get your guy. Finally, there's always some character and health issues. We'll talk about this specifically more later on into the video. Also, what if 3 running backs are picked before 25? That might be a little rich, but that would push a player down. What if Hampton goes around 25 or before 25? That pushes a player down. Or maybe you have a team that wants to get Hampton and Hampton's slated to go right around the back end of the first round. And the Texans are sitting there in prime Amari and Hampton territory. And they're like, hey, we'll give you the spot. Just slide us another second round pick. I wouldn't mind that I wouldn't mind that if I'm the Texans. I don't think you guys would either, having another second round pick and just moving back some spots. So the running back situation is always something to keep your eye out for. Finally, teams are going to reach. Teams reach every year. The Texans have reached. That's just what happens. And also luck. Never discredit the amount good luck can have on a team. Look at the Eagles last year when they were able to pick up Quinyon Mitchell and just steal him in the first round. So now let's get into the main part of this video. Got a diagram that shows the Texans at 25, the Eagles at 32 over there, and the Seahawks at 18, just to kind of give you a visual. Each tick mark representing another team that picks before or after the Houston Texans. Look, with Tyler Warren, it's really simple. If he's around 15, 14, 13, because that's as low as I think he'd ever go, you can start selling me on giving up the house to go get Tyler Warren. He is a generational tight end talent. I really think he makes a lot of sense for the Houston Texans. He's very versatile, can fit him in on a lot of different offensive schemes. We know Nick Caley loves coaching up tight ends. Nick Caley was a tight ends coach. Tyler Warren just really gives you that future option after Dalton Schultz this year, and he's a great weapon to have. I don't think he falls past 15 minimum. He probably goes to top 10, but if he's there, go ahead and sell the house for him. Not all guys are going to be like that. You'll see as we go in more in the video. Also, Luther Burden on the flip side. Luther Burden, when we started, was a consensus like 15th overall pick, around there. Now he's probably not even going to be drafted in the first round. The production issues have always been kind of questionable and an issue, but now when you start to look at his attitude problems, he apparently is being labeled as a diva by NFL GMs, and you compare that with the bad production, it really is hard to see him staying in the first round. So if you're the Texans, don't reach on Burden. If you want Burden, just move back a little bit, get him at the very end of the first or maybe the early second round when it comes to Luther Burden. I'll finally kind of unplant my Luther Burden flag. Moving right along, let's talk about these star-studded tackles. Look, Armand Membo, no reason he should fall. I'm just trying to be hopeful. If Armand Membo somehow falls and teams don't like him, yeah, maybe you trade up. If he gets around 14 or 13, he's a great pick. What about Will Campbell? He might fall because of his tiny arms, which I think is kind of a dumb argument. People are saying that he would have like some of the shortest arms at the tackle position in the league. I get that, but look, I mean, the Texans could play him at guard too. So even if he didn't work out at tackle, it wouldn't be the worst move. But obviously, Will Campbell, someone you could kind of sell the house for if you wanted to really solidify a blue chip offensive lineman. I mean, either one of these dudes would start day one for you on the offensive line, and that would just be one of the spots you don't even have to think about anymore, which would be such a relief. We've talked about Amari and Hampton a lot. The sentiment's the same. What if the Baltimore Ravens really like Hampton and they want to switch with you? I say go ahead, make the switch, pick up another good player, and get an extra third or fourth or second round pick, whatever it might be, especially if we're talking about future picks or whatever. Again, the Houston Texans should not be in the running back market in the first round. You're slated to be right around Hampton. Don't pick up Hampton. I wouldn't hate it if it happened, but realistically, we need to go for guards or receivers. He is a weapon, though, so I do like that about him. I really do like Amari and Hampton, don't get me wrong. It's just more of a need argument than anything else. Let's talk about Tet McMillan as well. Look, Tet McMillan has been having a little bit of everything. I think he's just been at the top so long that people are kind of trying to look for reasons to drag him down. It is not a great receiver class, so maybe people are kind of seeing him as being like the king of a small group or a big fish in a small pond, whatever the saying is. Look, Tet McMillan is a great receiver. He should not fall out of the top 10. If he gets to 15, 16, 17, maybe the Texans think about moving up, giving up a second round pick or something. It would be an extremely scary receiver to put in the opposite side of Nico Collins. Now, why is he falling? People are starting to point to things like his speed, not being able to win off coverages or man press, those things. Look, Tet McMillan's not going to blow you away with speed. He's a big receiver. He runs a 4.5. That being said, he finds ways to win. He doesn't look like a clunky receiver out there. He doesn't look like a big guy just barreling down who's unathletic. He can high point the ball. His catching radius is insane. His ball skills are good. He has great hands. He is not a project big receiver that we kind of just throw around. He has potential to be like a Mike Evans, a guy who's not the most athletic dude when he steps on the field, but who understands the game and knows how to get open. I know there was some talk about, maybe Tet McMillan saying that he doesn't like watching film or he doesn't like watching football. Look, you can hammer that stuff out of him. Personally, I don't care if Tet McMillan can't read. I still want on the Houston Texans. Go ahead, make the trade up. I really could care less. He's a great football player. And then more of a broader category on the right side, defensive players. Like I said before, Houston Texans should not be in the market for a defensive player in the first round. I don't care if it's Kenneth Grant. I don't care if it's Amanawari, Malachi Starks, the white corner from Michigan. I don't care who it is. I don't want to see a defensive player. No linebackers, please, and thank you. No defensive players in the first round. That's not the best use of our assets. I think I might lose my mind if the Texans pick up a linebacker or any other defensive player in the first round. I don't want to see it at all. So what I'm trying to say is if there's only defensive players and there's been a run on great offensive players, just trade back. We don't need to see that. We don't. This one might surprise some people. Golden won't. If Golden's there around 18, trade up and go get him. Just solidify him. No need. If Seattle doesn't like him for whatever reason, no need to let Seattle get a crack at him. And the teams that are before the Texans, just go up and get Golden. Great receiver, great talent. Would really fill in that gap between Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, in my opinion. Really be a strong wide receiver too. Gray Zabel may be another surprising name. Look, I like Gray Zabel. I think he's very versatile. He was the best all offensive lineman in the Senior Bowl. Did he go against NFL talent? No. Did he go against some future NFL talent? Yes. But were a lot of those players kind of just trying to make it in the draft? Sure, of course. But Gray Zabel, the thing with him is just the spot at 25. I think you can pick up Gray Zabel around 32, maybe in the beginning of the second round, provided he gets past the Chiefs and all that. But I think he's a great player. I just think you can trade back a couple spots and maybe still select him. That's my opinion on Zabel. There's a lot of good offensive guard depth as well in this draft. So when you kind of factor in his, I hate to say it, but you scout the helmet a little bit, you look at his competition. I don't know if he's worthy of a 25th overall pick. And also the Houston Texans just seem to refuse to draft people from small schools, and Zabel definitely comes from a small school. All right, this one we talked about a little bit on the right. Look, if the quarterback's going crazy and there's a lot of quarterbacks around and some team wants to offer you everything to go pick up Dart and make sure they get Jackson Dart at 25, trade back, please and thank you. Same thing for Sanders. If he gets to 25 and a team wants him, trade back. We are not in the quarterback market. Enough said. Kelvin Banks Jr., if he's around 18, go up. I wouldn't trade the house for Kelvin Banks Jr., but hey, I wouldn't hate a slight trade up to solidify your tackle and make sure you really strengthen that offensive line. That would, be a lot more beneficial in my mind. A small trade up for a solid offensive lineman than like trying to sell the house for Ted McMillan maybe. But to each his own. I do think Banks is a reasonable trade up though, smaller trade up. Don't go getting Banks at like 10, obviously, right? Just maybe a small trade up to solidify him around 19, 20, that area. And then finally, let's talk about two guys who look surprisingly similar when I see them on this slide. They are both Ohio State players. They look like they could be brothers, but they are different. They play different positions. Emeka Egbuka, same thing with him. Don't go reaching up at 10 for Emeka Egbuka, but if he's still there at 18 and Seattle doesn't want him because, Seattle just for some reason maybe they want to go offensive line or whatever. Maybe you could make a trade up for Emeka Egbuka. He just raises your floor a lot. And then we can also talk about Josh Simmons. With Josh Simmons, for me, it's just the medicals. I know the Houston Texans are going to do their work. They're going to do their due diligence to look at the medicals, to look at Josh Simmons, to inspect that patella tear, that tendon he tore. But he did tear a extremely important tendon. A lot of players have a hard time coming back from a patella tendon tear. And it's only been a few months, right? He might not even be ready to go or at 100% when the season starts. I don't know if you can afford to give up a 25th overall pick for that. Maybe trade back and get him later. That would be beneficial. He's a really talented tackle, arguably one of the best tackles with the best upside in this draft. He's just coming off an insane knee tear, which sucks. So that being said, maybe you want to make the argument they should still pick him up. I would make the argument you try to trade back a little bit. Still, a lot of people think he'll be going before 20 or whatever, which if you want to risk that on his knee, go for it. That's all you. But that's all I got for this video, guys. So let me know if you agree or disagree. Are there any names I forgot to mention? Are there people you would want to see us trade up for? Or people you're like, I definitely don't want to pick this guy at 25, but maybe in the top of the second round? Let me know in the comments. And once again, don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily Texans content. Appreciate all y'all stopping by, and I will see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.